So when it comes to what I like to call the Jew hate epidemic, there are two specific camps. And, as relatively polarized as they may seem, they're actually one and the same. So on one side, you have, the politically left-leaning individual, the so-called progressive, who believes Jewness to be aligned with whiteness, right? They believe that Jews are essentially, quote unquote, white people. And in their ideology, white people bad. Therefore, Jew, catch what I'm throwing. Then, of course, we have the far right, or some of them wouldn't quantify themselves as far right, but that's exactly what they are. And their ideological stances would put them in that realm, right? Those who believe there to be this massive conspiracy of Jews controlling the world, Jews controlling America, the rugged isolationists, etc. Right? Now, these individuals are the ones I really want to focus on because, you can discredit the left relatively easily. It's not to say that we don't, do something about it, right? Shout out to Marco Rubio. We revoke those visas. We make sure that the criminals are put behind bars, etc. And, certain people are sent back to the countries where they once came if they want to be sympathizers of terror. But when it comes to the far right, especially for an individual like myself who considers himself a relatively more conservative individual, right? Whatever that even means in today's day and age. I have certain values that are aligned with conservatism. I would be considered a Republican. I am registered as a Republican. I have to look at this side of the crowd because it is far more dangerous what's going on this side. We're supposed to be the ones who are rooted in the facts. We're supposed to be rooted in faith. We're supposed to be essentially aligned with good, but instead, many individuals who consider themselves as conservatives, these so-called influencers, etc., have found themselves in the very same place as the neo-schmatzis. Same exact aligned thought process. And so I believe it is of the utmost importance to debunk many of the myths that have created this perspective, right, of this all-powerful Jewish cabal that exists, right, that they control everything in the world, even though, they can't even get many of their own people to side with them. They control the world, right? You got woke Jews who are voting for Zoran Mamdani, and yet they are all together, working all together in this grand conspiracy. They run the world. They rule every single institution. They control America. They're in every single politician's pocket. Never mind that, Qatar and nations such as this have put billions of dollars into America's education systems, into, our media and things of that nature. Never mind that the exact adversaries, those who look to eliminate the Jews, have far more control when it comes to media narratives, when it comes to political influence. Never mind all of that, right? Never mind the UN siding with terror groups as opposed to Israel, but yet they control the world. And so, some of the questions that oftentimes come up, and they're not good faith questions, is, well, AIPAC, what about AIPAC, huh? See, got you there, AIPAC. And to that I say, well, I made a whole video on that. Well, why are they involved in every single one of these institutions, huh? Or why are they sending over our politicians to Israel? Oh, they must control. Also made a video about that one. But, instead of having these separate sort of videos, at least for this time being, I want to get into one video that I believe does one of the best jobs of clarifying almost every single one of these, debunking damn near every single one of these myths. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this video and, let it play out for the first few minutes, whatever is necessary for us to really get this point across. Because I believe, again, it's as important for us to be equipped. It doesn't mean that you're not on the side of truth, that you don't know how to articulate the message completely, or that, you don't have every single piece of information ready in that moment. But it is now important for us to get to a place where we are. We are well equipped and we can face the lies with the truth in the moment. Right? It is now our responsibility to do so. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Welcome back to Axis of Truth on JNS. I'm Emily Schrader, and today's episode we'll be speaking with Egyptian human rights activist Yasmin Mohammed about the Arab world's views on Gaza. Then we'll talk about how international bodies are changing legal definitions for the sole purpose of smearing Israel. But first, I want to clear something up. Since it's apparently difficult for Megyn Kelly and Marjorie Taylor Greene to comprehend, let me break down for all of you the truth about AIPAC. AIPAC is a 501c4 American lobby funded exclusively by American citizens, not a penny from the Israeli government. Legally, practically, and financially, AIPAC is not directed by Israel in any way. In fact, a growing number of Israelis feel Israel should distance itself from American influence, especially when an American president can pressure Israel to halt operations that are necessary for its defense. What AIPAC advocates is actually a very narrow mission focused exclusively on the U.S.-Israel relationship, which benefits the U.S. tremendously. But do they have too much influence? Well, let's examine the evidence. In 2023 and the first half of 2024, AIPAC was not even in the top 10 U.S. lobbies. They spent about $3 million. Big Pharma, the real estate lobby, Blue Cross, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce all dropped tens of millions. But is AIPAC controlling elections? First off, everything they do is legal. So if there's a problem with the structure of the law, then that's an issue for the justice system, not for AIPAC. But the idea that an American citizen can't spend their own private money in order to form a lobby or an organization that advocates specific policies is insane and undemocratic in and of itself. The truth is, AIPAC's PAC did spend $2.57 million on federal candidates in 2023 to 2024. And United Democracy Project, which is a super...
This just came up to mind. Again, I'm going to let her cook because she's cooking a top-notch meal right now. Shout out to JNS, by the way. So it's interesting that many of these individuals who have now sort of abandoned DJT, President Trump, because he is not willing to hate the Jews with them. What's interesting to me is they never had this stance that Trump was controlled by Elon Musk, after being given $200+ million. I mean, Elon by himself likely gave more to the Trump campaign than the entirety of Israel, every Jew combined, every Israeli, right, that could have given $1 to that campaign. That's the reality of it. Yet not one person was willing to stand on the same grounds as a lot of the lefties who were saying that Trump is owned by Elon. Because I didn't believe that. And turns out that he wasn't, because DJT was able to cut those ties as soon as Elon, started crashing out. So if this one person is spending hundreds of millions of dollars in one campaign, one politician's pockets is not controlling him, then how can we quantify that, an organization that is putting a few tens of millions of dollars and basically spanning that throughout the entirety of politics, on the left, on the right, whoever is willing to hear them out. In the same way every single other lobby group, every single other PAC is doing, unless they are, just a Republican PAC, if they're just a Democratic PAC, like Act Blue or something of that nature, or, or the MAGA Super PAC. Unless it is, exclusive, most of every other PAC is looking to get influence wherever it can, based upon whoever's going to listen. In the same way, the school lobby groups will do. Yeah. Miss Betty Simmons, your 6th grade English teacher, she likely has a lobby group that represents her own needs. And this is not something that I believe is a negative. What I believe is suspect is when you have dark money. That's why we talk about the Soros of the world, right? Is when they're hiding in plain sight. I want to know that Elon put money. I want to know who's putting money where. I want to know that. I believe we deserve to know who's paying for what. So the fact that AIPAC is so visible is actually a plus on their side for those who actually care about the truth. Whereas China, how does it make its way into our politicians' piggy banks? When it comes to Iran, Qatar, UAE, Saudi, Where's the money coming from there? And she's going to get into, some of those elements. But I really had this sort of juxtaposition in my mind to say, okay, so if there's, the Elon money and then the APAC, this guy put, damn near 10x the amount of money that APAC put, in all the politicians, let alone just in Trump's piggy bank. And yet he's controlled by Israel. Interesting. And that's when you have to lean on your conspiracy theories, not just conspiracy, but the theories, because that's essentially all you have to lean on.
APAC affiliated with APAC also spent $61 million, which sounds like a lot, right? Well, not when you look at the total spend of other American lobbies. The National Association of Realtors spent more than $140 million total. Big Pharma, $120 million. Blue Cross, $100 million. U.S. Chamber of Commerce, well over $100 million. And foreign lobbies? Even more sinister. Well, PR firms hired by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, or other states have to register under the Foreign Agent Registration Act. They have far more influence using soft power. China spent $40 million in direct lobbying. Saudi Arabia, $15 to $20 million, and Qatar spent $12 to $15 million last year. Already more than APAC. But unlike APAC, which is both domestic and transparent, Qatar, for example, has an entire global propaganda agency classified as news, Al Jazeera. They also invested billions into American academic institutions. They bought major American media and public figures from right to left. And they fund think tanks and indirect PACs that influence American elections and politicians. But let's go a little bit deeper. Is the mission of APAC itself problematic? Why should any American funds go to Israel at all, right? Well, it's not. Not really. U.S. foreign military financing requires the receiver to buy U.S. equipment, services, and training. According to 2022 U.S.
Let me run that back. Again, this is going to be a vital point when you're talking to some of these whacked out, Jew deranged individuals.
Deeper. Is the mission of APAC itself problematic? Why should any American funds go to Israel at all, right? Well, it's not. Not really. U.S. foreign military financing requires the receiver to buy U.S. equipment, services, and training. According to 2022 U.S. government data, 99.7% of the foreign aid to Israel. But let's go deep.
99.7% of the money we spend, because we do spend it, all money that is government money is our taxpayer dollars. That I will never deviate from because it's the facts. It's the truth. When we sent those hundreds of millions to Ukraine, that was our money. The only difference is with Israel, that money comes right back to America. They buy our technologies, they buy our weapons, etc. And I don't know if this is something that she's going to make reference to in this video, but the amount of technology we have gotten from Israel, it is an entrepreneurial hub. Again, it has many Western ideals. Actually, it is a Western hub in the midst of a relatively, dare I say, non-Western region. 99% is spent back with us. Where else can we say that is true with the money that we give out as foreign aid? Where any of that money comes back to us, let alone 99%. That's a stipulation in the contract, I believe. That's called having a relationship. That's called having an ally. Yet you will be told that that's a lie. Israel is not an ally. They're an enemy. They're controlling us. That's your conspiracy theory, right? That's your opinion. But then there are also the facts. And how I quantify the facts is by the actual relationship, by what is taking place. How do I know that my wifey loves me? Because of how she treats me, the things that she does to me and for me. Simple. So if I say that she loves me, but she is mistreating me, that's not love. If she is not investing into me, that's not love. How do I know we're in relationship and that we're allies? Because we share. We share information. We share technology. We do business together, real good business. But again, all of these things are belittled with the ultimate conspiracy. When you're fighting conspiracy theorists, the ones who are deep down the rabbit hole, there's no salvaging them except for their own experience. But when you're dealing with people who can be reasoned with, you just bring these simple things up and they'll start to see the light and they can go out there and start to do their own due diligence. The ones who can be reasoned with. Many, I'm not saying most, I said many have completely gone all the way down and they have to deal with their own internal trauma. They have to deal, with whatever wounds that are being expressed and whatever hatred and resentment and scapegoating, has become their sort of relief from their own, dare I say, personal decisions. Life hasn't gone the way that they wanted it to go. Right. Their bank account is low. Their wifey left them. The car got repoed. The house has got an eviction notice on it. Everything is going south. What better way to deal with that than to blame it on a Jew?
Is the mission of AIPAC itself problematic? I mean, why should any American funds go to Israel, right? Well, it's not. Not really. U.S. foreign military financing requires the receiver to buy U.S. equipment, services, and training. According to 2022 U.S. government data, 99.7% of the foreign aid to Israel, the $3.3 billion, is reinvested in the American economy. Furthermore, U.S. Department of Defense studies estimate the U.S.-Israel aid relationship sustains between 57,000 to 76,000 American jobs every year, with some estimates pushing closer to 100,000. Joint projects like Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow missile defense systems are also co-developed with U.S. defense contractors, meaning U.S. forces benefit from Israeli battlefield innovations. But that's not all that America gains. Israel is a strategic asset whose presence actually reduces U.S. need to deploy forces in the Middle East. It provides U.S. with joint counterterror and cyber intelligence that saves American lives. And finally, for better or for worse, the American aid package gives political and diplomatic leverage to the United States over Israel, meaning that the United States has the ability to pressure Israel into making decisions that are in the strategic interest of the United States.
Why has nobody ever brought this up? Except for, obviously, her literally right now. Well, actually, she didn't say these words, but I'm going to put it out there. What if America actually controls Israel? Just a theory for a second, right? What if America is the one in control? When you have a president that can say, Bibi, I know your people have been massacred and kidnapped and are being tortured and, but just wait a little while. Just wait before you go ahead and retaliate in the way that you desire to do. Just hang on a bit. Who has leverage in that situation? Again, we want to talk about the main question at hand, which is its control. The far right individual, the neo-Schmatzi, the one who's given over to I'm just asking questions, right? The Candace Qatari Owens-ification of our new population we have here on the internet. They're just noticing, right? That's what they call it. We're just noticing. So if these people control everything, then why is it that there is so much control in our hands? They control our institutions. Why do they come to the United States to build these companies? Maybe it's because the United States is the ultimate superpower with a $29 trillion GDP. That America has had the power to regime change throughout the world from its very inception. America. That ain't no bragging, because again, they use this as a negative. So to me, if Israel, this tiny little country with a population of how many, maybe 9 million, 7 million actual Jews, I believe many of which aren't even necessarily practicing. So if this little tiny nation rules everybody, they run everything, this small demographic, tiny demographic, 0.2% of the global population or whatever the number is. If they control everything, then what does that say about the rest of us? What does that say about our competence? What does that say about our cunning, our intelligence? Look at the banking system. Damn, can we not get our money together? Can we not have any sort of, economic, financial prowess? If they're running it, so you just happen to have a large percentage of Jews in the banking industry. What does that tell you? To the rational mind, to the thinking mind, that tells me this. These people have figured that game out. These individuals have pursued this specific space. That's what it's. When I see black men dominating the NFL, the NBA, multis of billions of dollars generated in black men's bank accounts through the NBA and the NFL, you know what I think? I don't think there's a conspiracy. I don't think that there's some sort of agenda. I think that black folks have focused on sports more than they have in most other industries. They have dominated because they have mastered these areas of life. Why is it that there seems to be an almost exclusively German monopoly on the beverage or alcohol industry, or more specifically in the beer industry? Why is that? Is it because there's some sort of German conspiracy around beer? No, it's because the Germans believe that they do beer so well that they should essentially bring that to the rest of the world. They have focused on this space. They have dominated that space. We get into manufacturing of automobiles. Why is it that certain people damn near have an entire chokehold on that industry, at least before Tesla came into the conversation? Well, it's a conspiracy. They're all involved in it. Well, I mean, yeah, technically it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy to dominate an industry. So many lawyers. Nobody talks about the clothing manufacturers, right? How, so much of New York's textile or clothing manufacturing is by percentage Jewish. It's a conspiracy. Maybe it's because this was a space that they could get into, right? When essentially they were being ostracized by many of the people around them when they migrated over to the United States, many of them in New York City. And so they worked these low paying jobs and, collect their money. Oh, greedy, right? Collect their money so they can eventually buy a little shop and they could start selling, things. Maybe they're selling out their homes. And then now they're selling out of the little storefronts, and then they build a storefront, and then all of a sudden you have Neiman Marcus. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe it's that. But what's more entertaining and what's a greater scapegoat is that they're controlling. They control it. Yeah, they do have control because they focused on those areas. Yeah, there is a bit of, in-group, maybe nepotism, things of that nature, just like there is in every other space. Right. Nobody likes to talk about how in the NBA there is now almost 1 out of every 10 or 2 out of every 10 players is now a Nepo baby in the league. Conspiracy. I mean, this is just food for thought. This is how I process this stuff. Just, again, it's not, you don't have to be a genius or any of that. You just have to think things through rationally. Rationally. Get out your feelings and just think about things, from a place of, I guess, connecting dots that are there as opposed to the ones that you have to make up.
For this reason alone, it should be obvious why AIPAC is not a lobby of the Israeli government, but rather an American lobby acting for American interests. The aid package isn't charity. It's a jobs program for tens of thousands of Americans. It's a tech accelerator for U.S. military, and it's a force multiplier for U.S. security in the Middle East. And of course, a tool of diplomatic leverage. And now for our headlines,
So, yeah, I'm going to make sure that right there is, or this video is linked below. Shout out to JNS, by the way. When it comes to the PR war, as they call it, because that's exactly what's taking place. It is the ideology war. It is the war for your mind. This is what you need. Like if I was, like some think out there, I'm paid directly by the Israeli government. I guess still haven't received that check yet, but I would say in order to win the PR war, which again, you don't necessarily need because you have the truth on your side, but get that truth out there and make it plain, and continue to, be incessant because they're incessant. They have 24-hour news cycles of lies. You have to have 24-hour news cycles of the truth. That's why I go so hard. I'm always showing up because I understand that, some things may be repeated, but you need things messaging in any format. If it's a company selling a product or if it's, you looking to get a certain idea out, there has to be a repetition of the messaging in order to position it in the minds of people. And when something is true, then it will stand the test of time. And that's what I'm betting on. I'm not betting on today. I'm not betting on tomorrow. It's 10 years you look back and you go, oh, that's what the hell those people are talking about. So till the next time, peace. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace. Aquarius. Where?
I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind, I've been getting visions of the other kind, I've been up for weeks, I'm in the count of blessings over count of sheep, I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me, I used to be the pleaser for the people, I ain't